The universe is conscious at the very smallest, or quantum, level, and this has been proven. In 1925, scientists like Einstein, Bohr, Heisenberg, and some others discovered that matter, like light, can be a particle or a wave. What's more, the particles of matter behave like a wave only when they're unobserved. And it seems that particles know whether or not they have been, or even if they're going to be, observed or not. This is called particle-wave duality, and it has been proven with the double-slit experiment. Here's a short video that explains it.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double-slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter, act. If we randomly shoot a small object, say a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit, we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter, like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit. It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands. What? An interference pattern. We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense. But physicists are clever. They thought, maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So, they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they could interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits, and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one, and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided to peek and see which slit it actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit to see which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum world is far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched. And it was here that physicists stepped forever into the strange netherworld of quantum events. What is matter? Marbles or waves? And waves of what? And what does an observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by observing.
So once you understand that all matter on the tiniest or the quantum level is actually conscious, and that we are all made up of these conscious particles, you're halfway there to understanding the whole picture. I mean, quantum physics, the Mandela Effect, everything. Keep in mind that these particles are our very building blocks. And as we just learned, all particles behave like waves when they're unobserved. Therefore, since we cannot observe the particles of matter that make up our bodies without some serious, scientific lab equipment, we know for certain that the particles in our bodies behave as waves because they're unobservable. This is the key to understanding why people are now experiencing the Mandela Effect. So let's talk about waves. Imagine a rock thrown in a pond. It makes many waves, moving outward in perfect sync with each other, right? Okay, now imagine each of those waves represents a choice that we've made, or in this case, an experience that a person has had in life. Now let's imagine that there's a turtle who surfaces near where you threw the rock, and some of those waves hit the turtle and they become disrupted. This is called the waveform collapse, or also the wave function collapse. And this is where the waves collapse or stop by the turtle from moving any further outward into the pond. Since there are many turtles and other unforeseen factors in the pond that may cause a wave function collapse, each section of the waveform will have a unique experience, unlike any other parts of the same wave. However, we know that they started out at the exact same rate, at the exact same time, and were from the same event, which was the rock being thrown. This unexpected event of the turtle surfacing caused a number of results along our wave. The turtle's head collapsed some of the wave, and the waves from the swimming turtle interfered with our waves from the thrown rock. This wave collision of the two waves is called, well, as you learned from the video, it's called interference pattern. But it's a new event, and it's considered another form of wave collapse. But it's so profound that it changes the course of the wave entirely. So each of these waveforms has a slightly different experience on their part of the wave as they're moving. And a wave in actuality is a continuous frequency pattern. We know that, right? It ripples up and down as it extends outward. So these weren't separate ripples or waves, these experiences that we had. They're all the same wave. It's just the ups and downs or the peaks and valleys of that wave. Each peak and valley can be observed as having had a unique experience, depending on where it traveled as it went across the pond. And just like the wave, the particles of matter that form the universe are moving in a constant direction outwards and at various peaks and valleys. Each particle along its waveform will have a unique experience as a result of various events which cause a waveform collapse in whatever place they are on the wave. Each event and its resulting waveform collapse are naturally occurring ways that matter behaves, just as God intended. The Mandela Effect is happening as a result of the natural order of particle behavior being disrupted. When we notice a change in our past or present, we're seeing a variation in where the waveform collapsed, or whence the waveform collapsed. Because we're all having a unique experience, each of us, full of many different events, we only notice the changes in the results of these events when they apply to whatever we consider to be important. When something we find to be off resonates within us, it's because the natural behavior of matter has been tampered with, and we're seeing the resulting effects. So, if you have a memory of something being very different, it's a message. Try to look deep into the layers of meaning, because it's God's way of showing you that there are things that have been disrupted in His natural order. And we can't stop that, but we can talk to God and ask Him what He needs us to be doing. And we can pray, because remember, the universe is conscious and it's proven. So, God bless everybody, and thank you for watching.